Hello and welcome to the last taco as we look back at the quarterfinals of the Betfred Challenge Cup in both the men's and the women's game. We'll talk about the semi-finals. We'll look ahead to the Betfred Super League, which resumes this week, all in the company of Kyle Amor and Paul Sculthorpe. Gents, only one place to start though. The first coach casualty of the season, Tony Smith, has gone, and unfortunately on the back of those results it's no surprise, Scully.
No, I don't think it is a surprise, is it? You know, Hull only one win in Super League this year. You know, you look at the playing roster. I think
and that was lucky against London as well.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was. Yeah, it was probably a game they shouldn't have won. And you look at the playing roster that they've got again this year and just massively underachieved. So it's no surprise, but you know, there's something definitely wrong. You know, within Hull, we keep seeing it year after year. You know, coach after coach, and unfortunately, Tony Smith's the next one to leave.
Two Challenge Cups, obviously in 2016, 2017, but no joy in Super League and not even close.
No, they've, Scully's nailed it there, really. They've once again just underperformed, and I think, you know, that one win in 7 you mentioned there, that getting sort of lucky in London against London Broncos at home. But I think it's just the manner that they've lost their games, isn't it? You know, we spoke about, I think I was on here a couple of weeks ago, it was just before the derby, and they'd had consecutive 50 points put on them two weeks in a row, and we spoke about that game and how they needed a performance. They needed a respectable scoreline. Nobody thought they were going to win that game. No. But they needed a performance, and they didn't get one. And I think for Hull FC fans, I think the frustration then just grown, and then, you know, they followed up with another defeat, and unfortunately the guillotines come down on Tony Smith. So it is always the case in professional sport. You know, you're not going to sack a full squad. Usually it's the man at the top that has to go, and that's the way the club have decided. And you know, who knows what happens from here on in Wyndham.
Yeah, Simon Griggs and Francis Cummins are taking over on an interim basis. There's a new director of rugby as well. Richie Myler has gone there. Carly, he's had to retire an elbow injury from York. He was on York's playing staff for this year. He's now retired and taken over director of rugby at Hull.
Yeah, interesting.
Looks a big job.
It is. It's a huge job. And obviously, you know, with that comes a huge pressure. You know, well, in fact, he is inexperienced in that field. There's no doubt about that. So it's an interesting one, really, isn't it? Of course, there is rumours that his father-in-law is due to become an investor or something along them lines in the club, and perhaps, you know, having Richie Myler there just gives him a bit of maybe a bit of faith, a bit of reassurance that he's comfortable in doing that job. But you know, for me, a bit of a bizarre one, if I'm honest. Hull FC is a massive club. It's going through a huge change, but again, we'll only just have to wait and see how it all unfolds.
I think it's probably the biggest job they've got, because I think that's been one of the issues for Hull FC over the last 10 years is the recruitment policy. Yeah. I think the players that they've signed, they seem to go for a certain kind of player, and it's too inconsistent.
Players with reputations that have delivered as well.
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of big players, and unfortunately, you know, there seems like there's a couple of players on the way out. Some big signings for them, you know, in the last couple of years who seem to be on the way.
Whoever gets a job, it's a big job now, isn't it?
Oh, it's a massive job. You know, Hull FC are a big club. You know, they've just massively underachieved, you know, for years now. And, you know, they've got a great fan base, they've got a great stadium. They've just never had the team to match it on the field.
That's one thing you can say about Hull FC, isn't it? Regardless of the performances, regardless of where they are in the season, their fans will turn out, and they deserve better. It's them I feel more sorry for. And you're dead right.
Especially with recent derbies.
Yeah.
Just not competed, have they?
You know, yeah, exactly. You know, I think there's been some heavy scorelines and 40-0s in there and stuff like that over the last couple of years, and you just can't have that. You know, we talk about Hull FC being this big club in the city of Hull. Well, the reality is now there's only one big club there, and that's Hull KR.
And I think that'll make it even sweeter for Hull KR. You know, they're set fourth in Super League at the moment. They're in the Challenge Cup semi-final. You know, that'll hit the Hull FC fans even worse, won't it?
Yeah, to go back to your point though, but why are Hull KR there? Because they've got their recruitment absolutely bang on over the last couple of years. Every time a new coach has come in, he's added to them, he's improved them. and he's been able to now,
doing some great stuff off the pitch as well, with what we're doing on match day and stuff like that.
Bottom end, the members' tickets are all up there, aren't they? I think 8,000, a new record for them. So the business is doing everything it should do, and the playing group are doing everything they should do. And when you marry the two together, that's when you get success.
Well, let's talk a bit more about Hull KR. Obviously, a repeat of the Challenge Cup final in the quarter-finals. Hull KR 26, Leigh 14. Leigh just run out a bit of gas this season, haven't they?
Yeah, I think they've struggled, haven't they? Again, they're same as Hull FC, only one win in Super League this year. I think they rode the luck probably a lot last year in regards to injuries. Obviously, some great performances, but stayed pretty clear of injuries, and they've certainly suffered for that this year. Not the biggest playing squad with that strength in depth, and I think that's probably paid its price so far this year. And Hull KR, got their own back, didn't they, for that game at Wembley last year?
Yeah, that was always the question mark of Leigh, right? As soon as they came up to Super League was, yes, their 1-13 or 1-17 was, more than competitive. What have they got outside of that? And it's only this year now we're seeing the real sort of, we're seeing everything that we all thought, isn't it? They've been the busted, the battered, the bruised, and they're just not able to field a team that can compete. And as well, mentally after the year they had last year, that playing group would have had a whole load of expectation not to be a one-season wonder. And the results that have fallen their way, perhaps mentally as well, they're a little bit shot at the minute.
I think we said it at the beginning of the year, didn't we, to Lammy when we interviewed him, and saying it's a very different focus on Leigh this year, going from the hunters to the hunted after what they achieved last year. Right. In Super League, making the playoffs and obviously winning the Challenge Cup. So that's probably added to the pressure, but injuries certainly took its toll.
Sam Burgess and Warrington fans will probably disagree, but the result of the weekend was Catalan 6, Huddersfield 34. Let's be honest, we didn't see that coming, did we?
No, definitely not. Again, like Huddersfield, we've been into them, haven't we, over the last 12 months about Ian Watson having a very healthy backer in Ken Davey, providing him with player after player who he wants, and to pull out a performance like that. And I think Huddersfield now, as we enter into this sort of middle third of the season almost, they can just start to slowly chip away and start climbing that table.
Well, if you can go away a win at Catalans...
Oh, it's a huge win.
I mean, the week before, Catalans were superb against St Helens at home,
it's one of the hardest places to go and win a game out there. And to score 34 points and keep Catalan to 6 with everything they've got there is a huge result.
Yeah, I think, Catalan have been outstanding, haven't they, this year? We see some of the performances. They sat top of the table in Super League. This was a real shock. Huddersfield are coming off 2 wins in Super League, 2 good wins. But I don't think anybody saw that coming, certainly in the south of France.
Castleford 6, Wigan 60. Bar St Helens on Good Friday, Wigan are just marching on quite nicely.
Yeah, they are. I mean, they've only lost 1 game this year, haven't they? And, again, up there at the top of Super League and in the Challenge Cup semi-final. They are the form team and the team to beat. I think they were a lot of people's favourites before a ball was kicked, and rightly so. And they're delivering. Castleford, it could be a long old year for them. I think it has been so far and will continue to be. They play each other again this week, which is a tough ask from Catalan at Wigan as well.
I know you know Matty Peake very well. He's obviously got his long contract as well now. He's doing a brilliant job, isn't he?
He is.
For me, the old Wigan's back.
Yeah. Do you know, he's just got he's just a great guy, as well as his knowledge on the on the field and on the training field. He's just a great fella as well, and clearly the players want to play for him. But they've just got so much stability there at Wigan now. They've given Matty a long-term deal. They give Sean O'Loughlin one, Tommy Luluai, and you see, players, what do you call it, Centre Jake Wardle signing a long-term deal. They're just getting that stability there and creating this, for years to come for the Wigan club.
I know it must be hard as 2 ex-Saints players, but he's doing a brilliant job, Matty Peake.
Oh, he's doing a brilliant job. And look, me and Scully were both, known for our playing days at St Helens, but now we sit, as sort of pundits or within the media, we have to be brutally honest. And I've said before, I think it's Wigan's time for glory. I think they have a period of success now. Sport always comes in cycles. Whatever sport you watch, it'll sometimes you can only have to look at football and the dominance of Manchester United or Manchester City or whatever. It will come in cycles. I think it's Wigan's turn now, absolutely. I think everything they've got there there is brilliant. That stability that Scully's just mentioned. And for me, they just look like a team that's in flow. Every time they take to the field, every one of them knows exactly what they're doing. And they do it very, very well. You know, just did that game against Castleford. Everyone in the back line came up with points, you know, minus Jay Field, of course, which that one's a bit of a weird one for me, isn't it? You know, Jay Field, he's only scored, I think it's only one try this season. Which,
good try though.
It was a good try. It was a quality try, but I don't think Wigan will be bothered about that, and neither will Jay Field as long as they're winning. But we've seen him score so many quality tries over the last couple of seasons that he's not quite just got that part of his game going, has he?
And we know what Wigan are doing off the pitch as well. Look at Robbins Park and the community stuff. I know Matty Peake puts a lot of emphasis on the community stuff as well.
Yeah, and I think that tells, doesn't it? It passes through the club, and obviously the fans who are behind the team. You know, you've got to give a lot of respect to Chris Radlinski and, you know, Jeff Warburton and them guys as well, who are doing a great job, as you say, off the field. And when when the guys on the field are doing the business, I think it makes that commercial side a lot easier.
Right, we said we didn't see the Huddersfield result coming. I didn't see this result coming. I thought it'd be close, but not. St Helens 8, Warrington Wolves 31. 5 tries for the Wolves. Sam Burgess must be absolutely delighted in the semi-finals of the Betfred Challenge Cup.
Yeah, absolutely delighted. You know, look, let's be honest, that Warrington side wasn't their full-strength side either, which makes it even more of a brilliant win. I thought everything that Warrington did in that game was, you know, was the opposite of what St Helens did. I'm talking, the first half, George Williams' drop goal tells you that there wasn't really a lot between the two sides, but the second half, I just felt that Saints just didn't look anything like themselves. You know, the way they conceded tries, you know, if we break it down technically on the details of how the tries came about, it's so unlike Saints of what it's been over the last couple of years. You know, defensively so tight and in and around that ruck on their try line, leaving space for other people to mop up work. That's not how that club has built its success over the last couple of years. And I just felt, look, credit Warrington, thought George Williams was incredible. Matty Ashton's try is as good as a try you'll see anywhere in world rugby.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Lachlan Fitzgibbon as well, another guy who's just doing, you know, he's having a great season so far. And I just think that on the game of the whole, look, if you're going to go into any big game and you're going to be willing to, from a St Helens perspective, concede twice as many errors, twice as many penalties, and miss twice as many tackles, well, you're going to get 31 points put on you, aren't you? And it's disappointing from a St Helens perspective how they got beat, I think. And I've no doubt that Paul Wallens will sort of echo maybe a couple of things there that I've just mentioned. That's bound to have come up when he's reviewed it. But just from a St Helens perspective, it was very unlike them, and it was a bit. Oh, I wouldn't say worrying, but it was a bit of a concern because I felt that some of the players perhaps went away from what they normally do. I think if you look at, you know, I'm going to look for example at, you know, Warrington Wolves, Joe Philbin, Liam Harrison, what they did was just carry the ball. I think Saints got a bit obsessed with trying to just be a bit too passy and a bit too...
So a bad day at the office or an underlying problem?
No. I think the thing is, though, they did it in Catalan as well, didn't they?
Yeah.
They came up with a lot of mistakes. So while I don't think it was a bad day at the office, I think the playing group just need to be pulled in a little bit and reminded of what success looks like. And I've no doubt that players like Johnny Lomax, you know, James Roby still got an influence in there. Those senior players will have been into a couple of those lads who have, well, I haven't really mentioned their names, but a couple of those players that just perhaps wanted to play their way out of trouble and play their way out of what's required to win a big game.
What surprised me, Scully, obviously Warrington scored first, but Saints got themselves back into it. 8-7. I thought Saints were going to go pull away, and they didn't, which is very unlike Saints, considering they're at home as well.
Yeah, do you know what? And we talk about how poor Saints were, 55 minutes to winning the game. I thought the changing point, for me, I was sat with the chairman, and I think going for goal with not a natural kicker in John Bennison, even though he kicked two great kicks from two. I'm thinking a difficult kick, a penalty, when you've got field position, you're 7-6 down with 30 minutes to go. It's not Saints' mentality to go for goal with a irregular kicker. I think when you've got field position, that for me showed a lack of confidence in that Saints team.
And very un-Saints-like.
Yeah, very un-Saints-like. And then from the resultant kickoff, Johnny Lomax makes a boo-boo. Johnny Lomax doesn't do that often. But that changed the game, and Warrington scored, Matty Ashton scored that spectacular try off the next set. And I just think it stemmed from Saints being on the front foot, having field position, to then being on the back foot, scoring, and the game went away from them from there.
But, you know, Scully's mentioned there, 55 minutes in, they were winning the game. So what happens in that 25-minute period for you to score so many tries, concede so many tries? It was just a bit, you know, and look, you get them games, Scully, don't you? You know, sometimes you get that result that just hits you in the face. But I just think that some of the movements of the lads just weren't where they needed to. They lacked a little bit of desperation in a big game.
Well, I think you summed it up with the tries there, and for me, James Harrison's try is not something that's acceptable at Saints. Exactly. You know, running through three defenders, it didn't do a lot to have to score that try. And that's not acceptable.
Well, Sam Burgess is watching. He's shouting at his TV, saying, "Come on, give us a bit of credit."
Oh no,
it's not Saints TV.
Look,
it's not Saints TV.
No, it's not. You're dead right. And look, I mentioned George Williams being brilliant. I mentioned obviously Matty
brilliant
Ashley.
Try from Matt Ashley.
Brilliant. You know,
you pay to see that kind of stuff.
But actually, what my point is that everything that Warrington did, like I said at the start, is what Saints needed to do in a big game. The Warrington forward pack just went about their job, just punching holes in, and let their key players at the right moment pick wonderful passes and come up with individual brilliance. That's how big games are won. I think for sometimes when you're in a team, if you start thinking, and I'm not saying, if you start thinking that you're going to win the game individually, no, not in big games, Scully. Usually your 9-6-7-1 decide the outcome of that. Everybody else has just got to do their job, and I think Saints just went away from individually every one of them doing their job.
I don't think it was Warrington's skill that won them that game. It was Warrington's effort, the effort-based stuff. You can see, you know, people talk, and we were talking in the crowd, if any influence that Sam Burgess will have on that Warrington side is players will want to play for him in the effort-based areas. Yeah. And that's where Warrington just seemed like they wanted it more. You know, there was talk of Saints, are they tired? They've had a big month of rugby. Yeah, they've had 2 Leeds games at Headingley. They've had a Good Friday win, which, you know, we talked about Wigan. Saints turned them over in an epic game at the Totally Wicked Stadium, and then to back that up with a trip to Catalan, which again they come undone. You know, was the fatigue already setting in then? So, you know, there is that, you know, to back up the team, but there was definitely, you know, a different mindset in that game as well.
Look, Saints won 4 titles off the back of effort. You know, of course they have quality in there, but it was their override. You spoke to any coach during that period or any player, it was all based on hard work and effort. Yeah. And I think when you get that side of it wrong and one side's willing to do it, you get that result.
For me on attack though, they looked lost at times. They looked like players didn't know what their own role was within that team, and some of that there's got to be responsibility on the halfbacks. For me, Lewis Dodd isn't doing enough at the moment. He's not got a running game. You know, we talk about Mikey Lewis. He's a running threat. So what that does is create space for everybody around him. And we're not getting that.
Just back to Warrington now, talking about the effort, that's what's been missing the last couple of years, isn't it?
Absolutely. You know, consistently over a period, over the full season, right? You know, Warrington, we were all sat here after 8 games saying they were going to win the league. You know, and then somehow along the way it fell off. Now, I agree with Scully. I think having Sam Burgess there, and a special mention as well to Martin Gleeson, because some of the stuff they're doing as well, he's clearly, he's got his fingerprints all over that. But I don't think they've got a guy who will, look, they'll get it wrong at times, of course they will throughout the year, but I think more often than not, if Sam can sniff a bit of complacency, I think he'll tell them, and that playing group, you know, you haven't got a better bloke in the game to almost, you know, like if he's telling me this, then we better fix it kind of thing. Yeah. So, but...
If he told me to jump off a cliff, I would.
So, you know what I mean? It's just, again, it's a long old year. There'll be bumps and, you know, in the road and casualties along the way too, won't they? But, you know, for now, when we talk about that big game, well done Warrington through to a semi-final. And
right,
you know,
let's talk semi-finals. Hull KR Wigan. That could be an absolute cracker. That's on the Saturday at Doncaster. And then on Sunday, Huddersfield versus Warrington. Hull KR versus Wigan. Met in the semi-finals of the playoffs last year.
Yes, always a big
and
game
Wigan
between
dominated,
them two. And Wigan have had a history of troubles as well with Hull KR. But you know, these as weekend proven, you know, Challenge Cup is all about the 80 minutes. You can throw the rule book and the form book out the window. It's about who performs on the day. And on current form, you've got to say Wigan are favourites going into that. But Hull KR, how many times have the upset teams?
Huddersfield Warrington.
Huddersfield, Warrington. You'd have to go for Warrington, I think.
Play like that, definitely.
But it's not all. That's not all. You know, Huddersfield now, like I say, they're coming off the back of 3 wins, and you know, if they can put another good result together, who knows? They could be flying into that one as a form team.
And they are double headers as well. So the Betfred Women's Challenge Cup, 11:15 kickoff for St Helens versus York on the Saturday at Doncaster. Then on the Sunday, it's Wigan versus Leeds, the other semi-final. So they're just one game away from Wembley. But before that, the Betfred Women's Super League gets underway.
Progress. We're told you make it inch by inch.
Achieved through hard work over time.
But we're here to break down the doors.
Our route to this point hasn't been straight.
Do you see how distraught the York Valkyrie players are?
But believe me, we're climbing.
Leeds are right on the line, and now they're going to dive over.
We're more than making up the numbers.
But the numbers we make up are growing.
More girls than ever picking up a ball.
More teams than ever fighting for the title.
We're signing contracts.
We're climbing the steps to glory.
So here comes St Helens, they're making that journey up the steps.
History was made last year.
And it's St Helens who are the history makers.
And we've got so much more to make. Unfiltered ambition.
If there's a picture that shows you what Rugby League's all about, that might be it.
Undeniable talent.
And Beavers will not be caught from here. Caitlin Beavers, what a way to start the second half for Leeds Rhinos.
Unmatched desire.
York Valkyrie, Betfred Women's Super League champions for 2023.
When we reach the top
And look back at how far we've come.
we'll realise just how far we can go.
So that starts this weekend. We've got a live game on the Sportsman for you as well. It's the holders of the Betfred Super League, York versus St Helens. So coverage starts at 11:45, kick-off midday, York Valkyrie versus St Helens. It's going to be a decent competition this year. Wigan are coached by Dennis Betts. Let's hear from him.
Dennis Betts, a new challenge for you, a new club, but also a new role as head coach of a women's team for the first time.
It is.
How are you finding it?
I've used the word quite a lot. I'm excited by it. I'm excited by what the girls are bringing and what training looks like. I'm excited by the challenge it's given me as well, because, like I say, they've really energised my coaching, because it has to be different. It's not like coaching 28 boys. It's like I say, you walk into a room with 30 girls and it's a completely different approach.
Yeah, obviously you've been a head coach before, but I guess even the fact that you're getting less time with the players, and I guess you're trying to have to focus what you're doing a bit more in the way that you're planning your sessions and planning the messages that you're giving across to them.
Yeah, it's distilling it right down. It's making sure that they understand as well what the important aspects are, because they all watch the game, they all love the game, and they all want to play like Wigan's first team or St Helens first team. They want to play like the men's team that they watch when they're doing it on Tuesday and Thursday night training. They're probably getting 3 or 4 hours a week on the field, so it becomes a really tough point to be able to play like that. But making them understand how you distill it down, what becomes the important aspects within the game, that's my job really, to try and give the focus to that.
Yeah, so best of luck. So it's the start of the Betfred Women's Super League season, and we've got York Valkyrie versus St Helens live and exclusive on Sunday, starting at midday. Let's talk about the men's Betfred Super League. Friday night, Leeds versus Huddersfield, a Yorkshire derby, live on Sky.
Yeah, it should be a cracker, shouldn't it? That one, you've got, obviously, we've spoken a number of times already about Huddersfield, starting to put performances together and get results, and for Leeds, there's still an eyebrow raised about them, isn't there?
I keep saying this every week. No one knows where Leeds are at.
Exactly, you're dead right. So who knows what you're going to get out of them? But I just think that Huddersfield are flying at the minute, and I think they'll go to Headingley and they'll win that game.
I think they took so much confidence at the weekend, that game over in France, that they'll go to Headingley. As you say, Leeds is sat in 8th position still, just so inconsistent. Lost 2 of the last 3. You've got to fancy Huddersfield.
Also on Friday night, Wigan versus Castleford. Do these play each other every week?
Castleford wished it wouldn't.
I'm going to say Castleford wish it was somebody else this week after weekend. To be honest, you can't see anything other than another big performance. Is it an opportunity for Matty Pete to blood some new players and rest a few? But yeah, it looks ominous, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think this is only the second time they've been at home, if I'm right, this season. They've done a lot of their results on the road. They've had an awful lot of injuries. A lot of people aren't realising the amount of injuries that they've actually had. And I think Mike Cooper comes back in this week. So, I'm expecting... Look, it doesn't matter, Scully. If Wigan were to rest people, they're young kids now, your Harvey Hills and the Sembers, they all just slot into there and they do it in the Wigan way, if you like. And yeah, I'm expecting just another 30-plus points in that one.
Also on Friday night, it's St Helens versus Hull. This is a free hit for the interim coaching team, isn't it, from Hull?
Yes, I think it's a massive game for Saints as well to bounce back. Because of the pressure and everything that's happened at Hull FC, this is a game that Saints have got to make a statement. They've got to bounce back and not only win, but win with a great performance. Hull FC, it's games like this. It's probably awful for Wello, because how many times you see a change of coach or a disruption within a club and you get a reaction. Whether they've got the playing group, I know they've lost a few players. Whether they've got the playing group to do that, if Saints perform.
Scully, the muscle memory from Hull FC when they went to Warrington with a very youthful side that day, didn't they? And apart from Brown getting sent off, they were right in that at half time. So I've no doubt they'll draw on that. They'll see it as an opportunity to sort of climb into Saints while they're perhaps a little bit vulnerable. But having said that, I think getting Matty Lees back in his energy and around the middle of the field, I think Saints will go after this very, very ruthlessly.
They're going to miss a couple of players, obviously Walmsley, potentially Sirenham, but for me, you say Matty Lees, and for me, Matt Percival as well. Hopefully Percy's back. He just brings energy. He brings enthusiasm and a lot more strike on attack as well. So I think that's a massive positive for Wello.
Yeah. Let's move to Saturday. Warrington versus Leigh.
Yeah, again, poor old Leigh. I think they're in for another tough day. Go into Warrington. Again, the way that Warrington performed, their key players, how they perform, they just look like they're in the groove at the minute, and they look like they're all enjoying the rugby under Sam Burgess, and I don't see them slipping up. In fact, if anything, I see them kicking on again. So, I'm expecting a Warrington win there.
Yeah, same. You look at the injuries and performances with Leigh at the moment, and if Warrington can build on that, sometimes if you've come off a high of a big game, you don't quite produce the week after. But I think the message from Sam this week will be to keep that standard now. And as I said, it was the effort-based things that they did well, and that's a choice by the players. It's not. I think there's massive improvement in them in the skill and the way they. The way they attack, but I think it was their effort-based things, and Sam will be into them to come up with the same again this week.
London Salford.
I mean, you would naturally pick Salford, right, wouldn't you? But I think London, I've said it all along, they will get someone at home. I think Salford, their performance against Castleford was a bit of maybe a bad day at the office, Mark, I don't know, but maybe the rest has done them good. But I think, I'm going to stick my neck on the line here and say London get this done. I think it's London's time. I think
they will win again.
They will win a game at home, and they will catch somebody. And the coaches, each and every week when they go down, they'll say, "Well, let somebody else worry about that the week after. For us, we got to come here and win." But I think London might win this one.
I think they've shown a lot of resilience this year. They was always going to be up against it. We knew that from before a ball was kicked. But they nearly beat Hull FC. They've shown some great performances throughout without getting the points. But I think this could be their best chance yet.
Catalans versus Hull KR.
I think it's going to be a great game. Steve McNamara won't be happy with them leaking 30-odd points last week.
Especially the way they played a week before against Saints.
The way they've been playing. So that, again, is it a fatigue thing coming off the back of a big win? But, there'll be a mental shift, I imagine, this week with them. Hull Hull KR, you know, they're in great form as well, and riding high in the semi-final. So I think this is a 50-50 game.
Huge chance for Hull KR. Huge chance for Hull KR with what they've got coming up. They've got this game, and then they've got obviously the semi-final, haven't they? And I'm thinking, if I'm Willie Peters, and we're talking about the progression of a team and a club, you know, I think they beat Wigan in round 1 last year at home. But then crucially, they fell away in that big game in that semi-final, didn't they? And they didn't just get beat; they got a lesson taught to them about what it's required in big games and what you need to do in order to win. So you know, this, whilst they won't take their eye and look further than that game next week, this is a huge chance to bounce into that game against Wigan. And then for Willie Peters to put it on his players and say, right, listen, how far have we come? How far do we want to go? Because this is an opportunity to get over Wigan and get into a final. But I think, you know, the work will start out in France this weekend.
And just before we finish, we've got an international fixture on the calendar. Saturday, June the 29th, the men's team and the women's team in France to celebrate 90 years of rugby league in France.
Yeah, I mean, it's always great, isn't it? The more international football we get, and obviously celebrating that in France, we want to see stronger France. I think a stronger, you know, club side within the French, you know, regions, and obviously that helps their international team, which helps us get more meaningful fixtures against France, which we've not seen, you know, for a long while. So great that there's another international game for the players, and no doubt Wayne will use that to, you know, to see some players step up to international level.
If we're going to grow the game, we need good international rugby, don't we?
You have to. You know, it's key. You look at everything that's happened in the southern hemisphere. You know, the emergence of sort of, you know, the quality now that's in Papua New Guinea, Fiji, Samoa, Tonga, New Zealand, Australia. You know, with the greatest respect, we don't have that in the northern hemisphere, do we? We've literally got England, and it's so important that we get, you know, equally for France as well, that they look for ways to improve, to make that game competitive, because, you know, heading into it, we all know which way it's going to go. You know, barring a catastrophe, it will be an England win, won't it? An opportunity, like maybe what Scully said, for Wayne to look at different players with what's coming up down the line. But it is important for it to be successful, and for this nation to get to where it needs to get to. It has to be playing in high quality games.
Right then, we've run out of time. What's your Sky game this week?
Leeds Huddersfield, yeah, looking forward to it.
Enjoy that. And I follow you on Twitter. You actually staying in this week? Because I saw you went to entry Thursday.
Thursday and Saturday. Yeah, it was a good job I didn't follow your tip as well. You know, I picked the winner, Mark.
Well done, mate. I am Maximus as well. I've won the Grand National. Well, it's a bit of a marathon. It's the Betfred Super League season, but it's back this week. Enjoy it.